welcome back to a brand new video. So today's topic, we're going to talk about Jesse Lee Peterson again. He did an interview with Charles White. I'm sure y'all seen Charles White. He's pretty much been all over the internet lately. Pretty outspoken. He's kind of like I would say he's kind of like a black advocate. I think he's trying to help the community, help like gang violence, but he says things that are like, not politically correct. So a lot of people won't agree with him, but sometimes it's hard to challenge him. It's hard to challenge him sometimes because it's the truth hurts a lot of the time. So, but I wouldn't say he's always right. Neither is Jesse Lee Peterson. He's not always right either. There's a bunch of people that have their own opinions about whatever subject, about black communities, about gang violence, and they're not always right. But a lot of times they're on the right path. It's just the way they articulate it. It doesn't come across as nice. Just like Trump. Like a lot of people don't like Trump just because the way he doesn't know how to articulate a lot of his opinions or what he feels. So the way he says things, people don't like it, So, so we're going to watch an interview real quick. It's a lot of important things I feel like that Charles White said in this interview when it pertains to fathers not being in the household, the nuclear family, single mother households. He says a lot of important things that if you didn't already watch it, I'll link the whole interview here, but I'm just going to touch on some of the things that Charles White had to say about his own upbringing. This is from somebody who actually went through it, who actually grew up with a single mother, and how it can affect you. And this doesn't affect everybody the same way, though. There's a lot of people who grew up in single family or single mother households where this didn't happen to them. So it's not going to happen to everybody, but it's a possibility that this type of outcome would be your outcome. It could have been your outcome if you grew up in this type of environment. So we'll watch it real quick, and you guys let me know what you think.
So were you raised by both parents? Were both parents in your home growing up?
No, sir. I'm the product of what I like to call the typical traditional African American home, the single parent home, right?
Yeah.
73% of African American homes in this household are headed by single black mothers, and so I'm the product of that, right? I'm the product of a mother who was a teenage mother, but she had the ambition, she had the wherewithal, she had the tenacity to will herself out of impoverished conditions and raise her two boys in what I would like to say the backbone of America, which is that middle class upbringing, that middle class lifestyle. So my mother landed a job at General Motors in the early 80s. Yeah. And I can vividly remember our lives changing from living in an apartment complex to having a home, and me and my brother having our own rooms, and living what I like to say a pretty productive life. A mother who was God-fearing, who tried to instill good morals and good values in two boys. But back during that time, I was born in 1977, so the 80s, there was somewhat of a stigma to single mothers, and then there was not a lot of help for single mothers. And so my mother was the backbone of our family.
So my understanding from this so far is that his mother was doing the best that she could. And number one, it's already hard to raise a boy and just by a female. It's hard to raise a boy into a man as a female. Now, if you're a female and you have a son and you're trying to raise him, it's gonna be complicated, right? But she did the best she could. Not only did she have one boy, but she had two boys. So now you have these two boys, and you're teaching them the same. You're trying to teach them, like he said, good morals, and values to the best of her ability. The only problem is that they don't have the father figure morals and values that you need, to raise a boy and to raise a young girl. A lot of women, not all women, but a lot of women get their values from their man. When they get married and back in the day when they used to marry really, really young, they would first get their values, their morals and values from their father, and then their father would, give them away to a man that was suitable for their daughter. He's basically vetted this man as being, competent enough to take care of his daughter. So, and then she gets more morals and values from her husband. She's missing, this single mother is missing that, and she's not able to give everything that these boys need to grow up to be, good man. Not that you can't grow up to be a good man. It may take a lot of, ups and downs and for you to actually get it, but it's just easier for you to get those values from your father.
When you say your mother was a God-fearing woman, what does that mean?
I've never seen a man come out of my mother's bedroom. And she had boyfriends. We went to church on Sundays. We was taught to pray at night before we went to bed. We was taught to pray over our food. I've never heard my mother say anything bad about my father. I've never heard my mother cuss anyone out. So what I believe, my mother taught us to fear God and fear her as well as respect her. But she tried to instill biblical principles into us at an early age in life. So as far back as I can remember in my life, we had a foundation of biblical principles.
Did you have any relationship with your father growing up?
No, sir, I didn't.
No contact at all?
Yeah, my dad was in the Navy. My dad retired from the Navy and battled with mental illness. And so I probably can count on two hands how many times I've seen my father in my lifetime.
So what was it like for you not seeing him and being with him growing up? Did you yearn for him, or what was it like?
All children, especially boys and girls, yearn for their father. There's a strong desire.
Yeah.
Not having a father there, right? And your mother not having the words or the understanding or maybe the time to explain to you what it's like to not have a father, right? So most single mothers are working. I don't know what it's like to be hungry. I don't know what it's like to come home and have our lights cut off. So my mother was very financially responsible, and at some point we made it to a level of affluence. But not having your father there, as a kid, not being able to articulate it, you internalize, right? So when the parents get divorced, kids typically blame themselves. So as a kid, you have questions. Where's my dad? Why is my dad not here? You may have a neighbor. I had a Hispanic guy by the name of Brian Alaniz. Brian Alaniz had a father. So I spent the night at Brian's house. Spending the night at Brian's house gave me a dad at times, right?
Yeah.
So you get to see what a family structure looked like. Then when you go home, you have questions. You have internal thoughts. So as a kid growing up, mom working. So when I'm getting out of school, mom's going to work. You feel unloved, right? You feel rejected. Then that turns into hurt. So there's a pain that just simply revolves around the fact of a father being absent, that this kid is feeling, right? He can't articulate it, right? No one's sitting him down and he's not going through counseling. So that's where the behavior begins to transpire, right? So you're feeling unloved, you're feeling abandoned, you're feeling rejected. That hurt begins to turn into anger. But the anger is just a smokescreen, right? You really want, so as a young man, I got all these emotions inside of me. And so when I get to school, I got the PE coach, I got the math teacher, or I got the school police officer, when he confronts me, hey, young man, you need to pull your pants up. Well, all these emotions causes me to resent him.
Yeah.
So I got this displaced anger, right? He's done nothing to me, but he's a man. He's a male authority figure, and I want him to come home with me.
Yeah.
I wish he can come home with me. So I resent you telling me what to do, trying to correct me, and you can't come home with me. So I began to hate you, and I began to despise other men, other male authority figures, mainly other black men.
So when
Right? So
you
that's
were
what,
when you were at
I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself, man. So Charles White sounds like somebody that's been to therapy. That the way he articulated that sounds like somebody who went to therapy. That just because most people don't understand why they are the way they are because they never really look at themselves. They never look inside themselves and try to figure out what's going on in the inside that I'm projecting on the outside. Because everything you're projecting on the outside is coming from within. There are things that that happen to you in your life that you don't realize that you internalized. So things like not having a father and him saying that he started resenting other authority figures telling him what to do. He really just wanted them to come home with him. That is deep. What he said is really deep. And it kind of goes back to a lot of the shootings that were happening with police officers and black men over the past few years. They were really, it was a lot. It seemed like it was a lot because it was on TV everywhere. Just remember that the news controls the narrative. If they want a particular set of people to believe certain things, then they're going to make sure that type of news gets out, because they're not going to show you all the good that police officers do. They'll never show you all that. They're only going to show you the bad things that happen when someone is non-compliant, or when someone pulls out a weapon, or when someone runs from the authority. You know what I mean? They're not going to show everything. So in this case, this really speaks to a lot of those shootings that were happening, because if you think about it, every time there was like a press conference, all these young black boys being shot by the police, their mother's always up there at the press conference. I'm always looking around like, where's your father at? Your father should be the first one up there speaking about what's going on. I want to know why my son was shot. I would want to know that. Because I know if I get shot by anybody, if I get killed by anybody, my father is the first one that's going to step up. He's going to be the one talking. Yeah, my mother is going to talk too. But my father is going to be the one that he's going to try to get to the bottom of it. Because he knows he was the protector. He was the authority in the family. So he knows how he raised me. So I think I think Charles White really, he went through some therapy, and he really understands a lot of the issues that went on in his life was a reflection of him not having a father. And that's really deep.
asked your mother, "Where is my father?" What would she say?
I never thought to ask.
You never asked at all.
I never thought to ask, because what's not there, you don't know to ask that. It's normal, right? We come up in a generation where children don't ask questions.
Yeah.
We come up in a generation where kids don't ask grown folk questions about grown folk things.
So I read that you ended up becoming a part of a gang when you were younger. What made
I
you?
joined. Go ahead.
What made you get involved with gangs? What made you get involved with them?
It was everything I was looking for. Coming from a single parent home, never been spanked by a man, never been disciplined by a man, never been corrected by a man, never been hugged by a man, never had a man say, "I'm proud of you," never heard a man say, "I love you." So the older guys in the gang gave me the affirmation that I sought to have from a father figure.
Did you know at the time you were doing it because you were looking for the love of a father?
No. You talking about a child with an undeveloped brain. They don't know what the fuck they doing. Yeah, you talking about an undeveloped brain kid. Everything that a kid does is all impulsiveness, right? Based on what they feel or what their friends are doing. I just wanted to belong. It wasn't a matter when you're going through what you're going through as a kid, you don't know I'm doing this because dad not there.
Right.
You just know you feel something.
Yeah.
You just know you was born into a condition. You was born into a situation where your dad's not around. You don't know that's not normal. So I met a kid. Go ahead. I met a kid once before here recently, and he's had both his mom and his dad. And so I asked him, hey, what's it like to have both your mom and your dad?
Yeah.
He couldn't understand what I was saying because he don't know what it's like not to have it.
That's right.
So to grow up and every child you see don't have a dad, that becomes normal. It's the guy, it's the house with the dad that everybody say, hey man, they got a dad over there. So you don't know until you grow up and you can look at your life and assess your life where you can start connecting the dots. But when you're a kid, it's your environment, it's the conditions, it's your nurture, the foundation of your home life dictates what you're gonna go outside and become.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, you don't really know what you're going through as a kid. You don't really understand that until it's just like growing up with a father. Like he said, he asked a question to one of his friends, what's it like growing up with a father, you know, having both your parents? He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it because you don't really understand that until you get older. When you get older, you start realizing, man, I'm so thankful that my father was there. You know, I'm so thankful that both my parents were there, that I had both the love from the mother and I had the structure from the father. I'm so glad I had all that, you know, because it's a balance. It's an order too. You know, a lot of single mothers and even if you're a single father, that's out of order. You know, it's not supposed to be that way. You make it happen. You can make it happen, but the order is off. The order is, and the balance is off. So you come up you start getting older and you start noticing you're a little unbalanced. You know, you're missing a few things, but you can still learn them. You know, as an adult, as long as you look into yourself and understand that this is what I went through, I can change this. Such as Charles White, he knows why he was the way he was. And I'm sure he's different now because of, you know, his circumstances now. Clearly he's different because he knows what he went through. He understands what he went through. That kind of reminds me of that movie, Boys in the Hood. When people used to ask, they were asking, I can't remember his name, but they were asking, what's his name? What it was like having a father, you know, because in the beginning of the movie, his mother dropped, you know, her son off at Fury's house, that was his dad. And long story short, at the end of the movie, pretty much all of his friends died. And he's the only one that lived. And I think that's a direct reflection of him having a father. His father was teaching him how to be a man. His father taught him how to be a man. And a lot of those other kids that he was hanging out with, they didn't have their father. They only had their single mother. And they, you know, they ended up being shot, murdered, killed, you know, because they just couldn't, they were missing something. The balance from them growing up was off. You know what I mean? So it's y'all should watch that movie. Go back and watch Boys in the Hood. And there's a lot of key points in that movie that you may have missed. Just watching through. There's a lot of key points in that movie that you even growing up in Compton, Fury was telling people that, you know, they're going to start buying these homes and gentrification is going to happen. That's happening to this day. You go to Compton right now, Compton is different than the way it was before. You have to go by there and see. It's not the same as it used to be. Because they're remodeling, they're rebuilding, they're trying to get rid of all these hood places and turn them into, better places to live. Not saying that's a bad thing, but if the community would just be better itself, then you wouldn't have to leave the community. The community just needs to be better. Black people need to treat each other better, and things will be fixed that way. But yeah, it's deep what he's talking about.
Interesting in that your mother brought you out of poverty, or and bought a home. She got a job, and you and your brother ended up with your own rooms and everything. And yet that wasn't enough for you, because I read that you decided to run away from home and go on a crime spree, which led you to murder at 14 and go to prison and all that. So it's interesting how
I've never been to prison.
I mean, jail.
Let me just say this.
To jail, right?
I went to juvenile. I went to a boys' home.
Oh, okay.
Let me just say this.
Okay.
Culture, right? Culture is way more influential, way more powerful than home life, upbringing. Let me give you an example. There was a time when black people hung from trees, and there was white people standing in the crowd saying, I don't agree with that. But they wasn't gonna speak out because culturally it was okay to hang niggas. There was a time when white people said it was okay to enslave black people, but there was a part of the people that says, no, that's not right.
Yeah.
But culture says we're gonna do it. So you put your head down based off what you was raised, but overall the culture influences it all, right? That's why culture is so strong and so impactful. So here I am. I'm born into a culture that goes against what my mother teaches us.
Yeah.
I'm born where my culture, I got my mom saying, you need to go to work. I got an uncle who I see on a regular basis by way of being family members. He a pimp. I got a grandfather who sell drugs. I got another uncle who sell drugs. When I look across the street, I got another neighbor. He's getting out of jail for robbery. My cousin. So when I come inside and I cut my television on, I'm born in 1977. Think about the culture then. Pimps was glorified during the black exploitation film era.
Yeah.
Superfly, the Mac. So I'm growing up watching all of this on the culture. I got a mother going to work. My culture don't show me mama going to work, but I see mama going to work. All the things that my culture present to me is negative.
Yeah.
And I have these same negative images, not just in my family, they in the community, they at my friend's house, they outside the school. So biblically, my mother says that the Bible says a son can do nothing without his father, that he can only do what he see his father does. So if there's no father around, who do you mimic, mama? So I know a lot of young boys who didn't have no uncles, didn't have no brothers, didn't have no male cousins. So they was the little boy sitting down peeing outside when we were standing up peeing. So I seen a whole lot of little boys who was mimicking mama. So
Yeah.
they sat down and pee until they went to school.
Yeah.
So I had uncles and mimic, right? So Confucius said, he who controls images controls minds. My little mind was being controlled based on me being young with a young, impressionable mind. So it's not that I went against my mother. I have a culture. You got NWA, fuck the police. So all of this is being pushed upon us as children culturally.
Yeah.
Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society. They take away the Cosby Show. They take away a different world. So culturally, man, all the negative images is being propagated to me. So I literally grew up believing that men, for one, don't work, because I never seen a man get up and go to work. I grew up believing that men went to prison and went to jail. So I aspired to be a man. How do you become a man?
Amazing.
You got to go to jail, nigga. So I want to be a man.
That's
I heard what
amazing.
you saying, mama. You're a woman, but I want to be a man.
Yeah.
Again, yeah, that's deep that he's able to, realize that culture is stronger than what's in the household. And that's exactly why you need that father figure, that authority figure in your household. Every time you come home, he's telling you how to do things right, how to do right. That way, when you get outside, you still got to go home. That's how it was with me growing up. I could be outside, but I know I got to go home. Eventually, I have to go home. So I'm going to have to deal with, my father. So it's better for me not to break the law or do things that's going to upset him. Because at the end of the day, once I get finished doing what I'm doing outside, I got to answer to him at the end of the day. And I just didn't want to answer to him. So it's better for me to just do right. So it's growing up, I never feared the police. I feared my father. So when I got my license and the first time I got pulled over by the police, I'd watched all the movies, all the gang movies, all the music videos. I already had friends that have been killed before, by, gang members and police officers. So when I get pulled over for the first time, I'm nervous. But I'm nervous for a way different reason than other people might be nervous. I get pulled over, I'm nervous because I'm on my dad's insurance in order to drive this car. So if I get a ticket, he gonna find out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just hoping my father doesn't find out about this. I get pulled over, talk to the officer. I do everything the officer tells me to do. I'm not worried about him. I just hope he doesn't give me a ticket. Because if I get a ticket, my father's going to find out. You know what I mean? So I'm afraid of the authority figure in my family, in my own household. That's what I fear, and fear turns into respect over time, because you fear your parents because you don't want to get hurt. You don't want to get hit. You don't want to disappoint them. So you're scared of them at first, as you get older, you just start, that fear turns into respect. And as you get older and older, you still respect your father. And on top of that, you respect all authority figures. It just transfers over. You just automatically respect, your boss. You respect police officers. You respect, firefighters. You respect what they do. You respect people in the military. You just show respect to everyone. Anyone that's above you, you respect them. You show them respect, and you expect to get respect back. And that's just how it goes. That's how I was raised. And if Charles White was raised in that way, he wouldn't have had to go through all the hardships that he went through in order to, be where he's at today. But for him, he had to go through those hardships. And I believe his brother's still in prison for what he did, because he was a little older. But yeah, that was I liked everything that he said about that, because everything was, in my opinion, it was correct. But you guys let me know what you guys think in the comments. Is if you were raised in a single family or a single mother household, how did it create you? How did you become successful, or how did you feel disadvantaged, or how did you was an advantage? It might have been an advantage for you. So tell me how did it work for you? because not all situations are the same. Everybody doesn't go through the same issues. You know, it works for some people, it doesn't work for everyone. But I think in general, it's better to have both mother and father in the household. It's just better that way. It keeps you, it's a balance. It's all about balance. Everything you do is about balance. The way you eat, you know, you can't be too fat and you can't be too small either. You can't be too lean. There's a balance. You know, you have people who diet for shows, and you see the bodybuilders on stage. Those bodybuilders they're not healthy. They look good, they're muscular, they have no fat on their body, but that's not a healthy way for them to live for, you know, a long period of time. They're just dieting that way for that show. That's why they look like that. But they can't live their entire life being that lean, because it's not good for your body. And you also can't be super fat. You can't be 300 plus pounds, you know, almost 400 pounds. That's not healthy. You know, you have to be in a certain there has to be a certain balance of weight that you can to be healthy. You know, 15% body fat, that's pretty healthy. You know, when you start getting to like 30, 40, you know, body fat, like, come on, man, you know, you become obese, you know, so that's a lot of pressure on your heart, blood pressure, you know. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Get on Amazon, get your pre-workout, man. Check it out, man. I got another product coming out soon, man. It's there we go. I got another product coming out soon. I'll let you guys know, but check that out on Amazon. I'll leave a link to it at the bottom, and I'll leave a link for that entire video of Jesse Lee Peterson and Charles White. It was about an hour long. They got pretty deep into it, so yeah, go in there and watch that. Like, comment, subscribe, follow my Instagram, follow both Instagrams. Let me know what you guys think. I appreciate y'all watching. Till the next time. Peace.